If your television suddenly turns on during the night, do not stare at the screen for too long, because this case began with a series of incidents connected to old smart televisions activating at exactly 3:33 a.m. every single night, regardless of power settings, unplugged timers, or disabled internet connections. The first report came from a man living alone in a small apartment who claimed his television had started turning on without explanation. According to him, the screen never displayed normal channels or streaming menus. Instead, the device opened directly into black and white static, accompanied by low-frequency humming sounds, too quiet to understand but impossible to ignore. At first, he assumed electrical interference or faulty hardware. However, the timing never changed. Every activation occurred at precisely 3:33 a.m., down to the second, even after replacing cables and changing outlets and disconnecting the television from all wireless networks. The phenomenon continued. Investigators reviewing the case initially suspected a damaged internal timer, until the user described something more disturbing. During the first few nights, the static remained completely random, but over time shapes began appearing. Briefly inside the noise, human outlines, dark hallways, empty rooms, impossible architecture visible for only fractions of a second before dissolving back into interference. The man attempted recording the television using his phone camera, but the footage never captured the same images visible to the human eye. Videos showed only ordinary static, despite the witness insisting certain frames contained recognizable figures. After approximately 12 consecutive nights, the audio changed. Beneath the static, investigators isolated rhythmic sound patterns resembling distant speech, slowed far below normal vocal frequency. Enhancement later revealed fragmented phrases, repeated continuously underneath the interference. Stay awake long enough to see the broadcast. The user reported severe sleep disruption following repeated exposure. To the screen, he claimed the static began appearing even when the television remained off. Reflections inside dark surfaces, mirror glass, and powered-down monitors occasionally displayed flickering monochrome movement identical to the original broadcasts at exactly 3:33 a.m. Neighbors inside the same apartment complex later reported similar experiences. Televisions powering on independently distorted emergency tones and brief images of unfamiliar people staring directly into the camera perspective. As though recorded from surveillance systems, one family documented an incident where every screen inside the apartment activated simultaneously, including tablets, laptops, and a disconnected security monitor, all displaying identical static patterns despite no physical connection existing between the devices. During one archived recording, investigators identified a repeating frame hidden inside the interference appearing every 17 seconds. The image lasted less than a tenth of a second, but enhancement revealed what appeared to be a narrow corridor illuminated by a single ceiling light. At the far end of the hallway stood a human figure motionless facing the camera over repeated broadcasts. Analysts noticed subtle changes. The figure gradually appeared closer in each occurrence. Although the corridor itself remained identical, some technicians initially theorized the anomaly could involve embedded signal hijacking or unknown broadcast frequencies. However, spectrum analysis detected no external transmission source. The televisions appeared to generate the images internally without receiving any signal from outside systems. One particularly disturbing report came from a retired engineer who disconnected his television permanently after weeks of unexplained activations. According to the case file, the television remained unplugged inside a storage closet for nearly a month until the man awoke one night hearing static. Coming from another room upon investigation, he discovered the screen glowing faintly, despite the power cable still wrapped separately nearby the broadcast displayed. A grainy black and white image of his own bedroom recorded from an elevated corner. Near the ceiling, the footage showed the man sleeping moments earlier, before the camera perspective slowly tilted downward toward his face, as though something holding the camera had leaned closer. The engineer destroyed the television immediately afterward, but investigators later recovered fragments of the device storage memory analysis uncovered. Partially corrupted video files time-stamped months before. The owner purchased the television. Some recordings depicted empty rooms while others showed sleeping individuals. Unaware of being filmed, all files terminated abruptly. Whenever a figure entered the frame from outside camera visibility, further incidents emerged online as leaked clips spread through horror forums and obscure message boards. Several users claimed prolonged viewing of the broadcast produced visual afterimages, static patterns lingering within peripheral vision even after screens were turned off. Others described hearing low-frequency humming at exactly 3:33 a.m. Despite having no television nearby, one student documented recurring dreams involving endless corridors, identical to those visible within the hidden frames. According to his account, each dream ended with a television screen positioned alone at the far end of the hallway, displaying live footage of the dreamers sleeping in real time. Analysts reviewing metadata from affected recordings discovered impossible timestamp inconsistencies. Certain files appeared created hours before the televisions themselves powered on, while others contained frame sequences generated faster than the hardware refresh rate. Physically allowed one corrupted clip extracted from a damaged device lasted only 4 seconds, yet contained over 9,000 unique frames, many displaying brief glimpses of distorted faces, impossible interior spaces, and unidentified symbols hidden beneath the static. Investigators eventually noticed another recurring detail across unrelated incidents. Clocks visible within the hidden broadcasts consistently displayed the same time, 3:33, regardless of the actual recording time stop. Some theorized the broadcasts themselves were not live transmissions, but repeating loops generated from a fixed moment in time. This theory intensified after a user paused one of the static broadcasts and claimed movement continued inside the frozen image. According to his report, the hallway remained motionless, but the distant figure slowly raised its head toward the viewer despite playback remaining paused. Frame extraction later confirmed subtle pixel displacement within the figure between identical paused screenshots. The final documented incident involved a technician assigned to analyze a recovered television from one of the original apartment cases. During examination, the screen activated unexpectedly. Despite complete disassembly and lack of electrical power, the static lasted approximately 14 seconds before resolving into a clear monochrome image, showing the technician himself seated beside the device. However, the perspective originated from behind him in a section of the laboratory containing no cameras. At the end of the footage, the technician slowly stopped working and turned toward the impossible viewpoint. His facial expression changed immediately from concentration to visible fear before the recording terminated into static. Enhancement specialists later isolated a faint phrase hidden beneath the final audio burst. The broadcast only appears after someone watches long enough. The final statement attached to the archive concludes the televisions are not receiving transmissions. From elsewhere, they are showing recordings from places that notice when someone is finally paying attention.